Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming. My name is Hollow and today I've got a fun little video for you. We're going to take a look at some of the most anticipated games that we're expecting to play in the upcoming year of 2024. What is the most promise, potential to fail? Well, these are going to be the 10 biggest titles that I'm looking to play and want to highlight. With all that said, in no particular order, let's just begin. First up, something I am very excited for. Path of Exile 2, which will not fully release in 2024, you might imagine, though it is possible, but it will be playable for the first time en masse via its first closed beta on June 7th, 2024. To explain what this game is, it's a pretty long topic. So in short, Path of Exile 2 is the sequel to the beloved first ARPG, Poe I. Inspired by the likes of Diablo II, these devs decided to create their own version of this genre that they clearly love. People who play the game passionately and want to create the best version of a childhood classic. They successfully created what has become the most respected ARPG of the current time, and it's been out for a decade now, so we're more than ready for a sequel, bringing forward the visuals, which are pretty behind now, but also creating a much more beginner-friendly experience, which is somewhat lacking in the original. A game with a decade of system blow. Even if they're all good ideas, so much to take in as a new player. I myself am a new player. Over the last month, I've been trying it and I've been really enjoying it, but without the help of the community, it would have been way harder for me. I am blown away by the depth of it all. It feels like every concern or topic I can think of, they've already thought of it, and they've got so many different solutions for everything. The mod scene will tackle anything they might not have thought of, which they fully support. So a genuine team producing excellence in a surprisingly humble way. I fully support this. And it's crazy that they're going to continue developing Poe I for the people who prefer that original. That's commendable from the devs. In general though, Poe is adding stacks of new stuff to the original concept, like the 6 new classes on top of the 6 original, entirely new systems while reworking lots of the originals massively too, and fixing the unused stuff like say weapon swapping, creating something new called hybrid builds. There's just piles of things I could talk about, but I only have a short segment for this. It's just fair to say that a lot of people are excited for this one, including myself, and we think a lot of new players are going to try Poe II and get into it where they couldn't with 1. So it's going to be a big game and one to watch. Next, a comical comparison. I'm now going to highlight what I'm next excited for, which is Diablo IV and its expansion, Vessel of Hatred. This releases late 2024, but we don't have a proper release date beyond that. Why is this funny to bring up after talking about Path of Exile? Well, because one game is not like the other. No matter what you think of Diablo IV, it released to incredible success, at least in terms of money. But it was also an unfinished mess. We wouldn't say the same about Path of Exile. To my knowledge, the people who work on Diablo IV currently don't entirely represent the majority of the people who worked on the release version of Diablo IV, which is a much bigger team. Despite that, Season 2 has been a massive step forward for the game. Major systems and concepts based on feedback that have been added that should have been there from the beginning. Initially, Diablo 4 still had a great story, fun gameplay. It was good. It's just when you hit World Tier 3, having finished that story, the end game really begins and there isn't much to it. Most core build concepts were unfinished and even irrelevant. One of the 3 main core damage buckets, meaning overpower, didn't even work properly or was relevant in a real way. Element resistances and that damage type, many systems just underbaked. And unfinished is really the word I'd use to describe Diablo 4 at its launch. Only now in Season 2 do I think it's in a good place. Yet I'm still excited for Vessel of Hatred. That's because the story was good, the experience while leveling was fun. I enjoyed the game for what it was. It was almost ideal to play that game for a certain period and kind of stop once you hit World Tier 3 properly. That's not a good thing, but it doesn't change the fact that it was an enjoyable game for a good while before that occurred. Hopefully now they've learned the lessons that needed to happen, especially as we've seen things for Season 2 get really good. It's obvious there was a change in behavior from the events of pre-season into Season 1, where the atmosphere of, say, the dev talks totally changed. And after that, they really started to take on the feedback and make relevant changes that have been a good thing. Will the DLC learn from the mistakes of launch, or will it just be the original team making the same damn errors again that they leave to another team to fix later? I'm interested to find out. Either it's going to be funny, or hopefully an actually good game. Moving on to one we're all feeling the pain of, it's fair to say that this is probably the most anticipated release of the year. Shadow of the Erdtree, the Elden Ring expansion, aka DLC. This one hurts because we've expected news about it for like a year, but instead after a long delay, we had that single image we've just been staring at. And this February, it's going to be 2 years after the release of Elden Ring. We thought the DLC would have come maybe about a year after the launch, which is the average time based on the previous DLCs, but now we're coming up to 2 years and we don't even have a teaser trailer, let alone official date or information. And despite all that silence, expectation and hype are still sky high. We are expecting the biggest biggest DLC FromSoft have ever released. It's been in dev longer than we've ever seen them develop a DLC. We are talking about Elden Ring right here, a big game. A DLC should be comparable to that scope and scale. I'm not saying it should be Elden Ring 2, but maybe 1.5. We need something that is big, especially after this long wait. They use the word expansion rather than DLC, and that makes me think that's going to be the case. You'll get your classic new items, weapon spells, rebalancing of the game, on top of the core systems they built in, like the PvP matchmaking and so on. But as it is, we don't know any true, real details about the game right now, and we don't even know when we're going to get some news. From Software know what they're doing, they'll release it when it's ready, but until then, we've just got to be very patient, and more than likely, we'll be playing it in 2024. Speaking of painful waits though, let's remind ourselves of another one. If you're a fan of Hollow Knight, I see you're also cultured. Maybe you're like me and you happily put your clown makeup on at every relevant event where a Silksong release date trailer might happen. I joke, but it has been an insanely long wait for Silksong. This is the sequel to Team Cherry's incredible Hollow Knight. One of my favourite games of the last decade, Hollow Knight was this outstanding action platformer, a Metroidvania as they're often called, featuring incredible characters, voice acting in the form of silly sounds, a huge, mysterious story about the falling civilization. Even you play a mysterious character that's true nature is revealed through that story. The combat was satisfying and fun, the platforming was incredible. I still think fondly about the Path of Pain, which is maybe weird of me. And then Team Cherry released 5 DLCs that were all incredible, right? But they did it for completely free. So this team, they deserve respect and our patience. Silksong is that long in developed sequel though, with new core gameplay, playing as one of the main characters from the original, Hornet. It was revealed 4 years ago though. It was shown in 2022 at the Xbox Showcase, and we were told that we would get a 2023 launch. The Xbox Twitter account actually confirmed that, but it didn't happen. And it was later revealed that, yeah, it just wasn't going to go that way. This is because the game turned out to be much bigger than they planned, which is going to be a good thing when it releases, but we just have to keep waiting. In the meantime, I recommend you replay Hollow Knight because it's awesome, or give it a try if you haven't. It's a genuine masterpiece. On the topic of Souls and comparable games of that nature, let's highlight now Black Myth: Wukong, releasing August 20th in 2024. Black Myth: Wukong comes from the breakout dev team Game Science, this small Chinese developer who revealed their journey to the West-inspired Souls-like 3 years ago. Said reveal has 10 million views at this point, compared to say Silksong, which has 4 million on their original trailer. So it's fair to say that Black Myth: Wukong is anticipated highly. The Wukong character and the original Journey to the West storyline is very popular in the East. You may have seen Wukong as a character in any MOBA you've ever played, let alone any other popular media. The Souls-like genre is a growing one, but has many releases that generally are like budget Souls with their own theme, usually introducing something neat as a new core system. And yeah, Black Myth: Wukong appears to be a unique take on the genre. Wukong is a character who can perform these incredible feats of transformation, transforming into anything he might need, like a bat to fly, sneak around as a bug, take on the fighting form of a warrior, a giant, whatever you can imagine. He can extend this to his staff, extending that and shortening it at will, capable of illusion magic, so loads of versions of himself. The aim of the game is to provide a massive amount of spell-based options trying this concept, but also kind of martial prowess as well, with the stances and all the stuff you can do there. The setting and the enemy variety is very cool. They've gone mad with all that, the places you're going to go. The Wukong here is immortal and has seen countless things, civilizations rise and fall, which is a great excuse for the devs to give us a load of variety in the setting and the stories we go through. The enemies they've shown seem fun and intelligent, so there's a lot about this that seems interesting, different to your normal Souls-like. Some people have even played it now. There was a demo version at Gamescom, and some creators and press even had a hands-on. The question is, will it live up to the hype? Because it's pretty big that. We'll see in August. Next up, one I'm personally very hopeful for. No Rest for the Wicked, an upcoming ARPG, a passion project that's been in the works for over 6 years already. Created by a team who love the genre, but haven't really released one before. We're talking about the team behind the incredible Ori series. Yes, Ori and the Blind Forest and the Will of the Wisps. Comparable to Hollow Knight, a wonderful game. Their next project? It's instead a brutal and bloody ARPG, which is a very big shift. As it turns out, this is far from a surprise to the dev team though. Moon Studios have been desperate to get into the genre since their inception, it would seem. The co-founders talked about how this is a dream project. They said that after the success of Ori, it was clear that Moon was now mature enough to be able to realize this dream. So yeah, in 2024, there's a good chance you'll be able to play 3 major ARPG releases in 1 year. Visually though, this one's stand out. They describe it like a living painting, and it does look good. While yeah, amidst a bloody setting, especially the combat, there's lots of these rich popping colours. Ori was absolutely a feast for the eyes, and this looks the same, just, you know, in a more adult theme. Mechanically, they're calling this precision-based combat. We're going to hone our combat skills using a system that challenges you to be deliberate and strategic, which is meant to be a very different take on the combat systems you normally see in an ARPG. The weight and speed of each weapon will be telling. They have their own movesets. We'll enchant them with runes, craft armor, and create different character builds to fit playstyles. They also mentioned a heavy focus on verticality in both world and area design. So if you'd like to learn more about this one, I actually have a full video dedicated to the topic. But like I said, they've been working on it for 6 years, and they're hosting a big event called Wicked Inside on March 1st, using that event to reveal more details of the game, and hopefully when we can first play it, which we hope will be this year. I certainly respect these devs. The Ori games were great, and if they're truly as passionate about it as they say they are, I expect a cool new take. Okay, now for something different. One of the most anticipated games shown at the Game Awards, according to various polls, was this: Light No Fire, the next project by Hello Games, that incredible team behind No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky was an utter failure at its launch, reviewed extremely negative because, well, it overpromised and underdelivered. No Man's Sky was an ambitious project. Imagine Starfield, but if it was good. Traveling to space, to countless planets and beyond, without, you know, the loading screens every 3 milliseconds. According to Sean Murray, the main face for the game, it seemed like anything was possible during his PR and marketing stuff. Many features claimed and promised that just didn't exist in the launch version. He kind of let the hype and concept run away with him, and it backfired. But what happened after that? It was the greatest recovery of a game and its content, its reputation I've ever seen. They quietly released improvement after improvement, implementing new system after system, fleshing out their worlds so not barren and horrible and boring, loads of quality of life, and big content updates. Year after year, the result is something better than what was originally promised, a truly special game that stand out to this day. Now they've earned respect and trust. When will they finally release a new game? Well, it looks like it's coming soon, in the form of Light No Sky. This was revealed at the recent Game Awards, and Sean Murray was back, and all he needed to do was tell us about the game calmly, but not overpromise. It looked like he didn't want to tell us anything, but was kind of coaxed into it by Jeff Keighley, the host of the Game Awards, who understandably didn't want him to say nothing, you know, when he's standing there meant to be explaining the game. Unfortunately, Murray proceeded to describe the game as though they'd made the literal earth to play on, with random features sort of bursting out of him at will. It's like he can't help himself. What Light No Fire turned out to be, though, is a new fantasy game set in a true open world. Apparently, yes, comparable scale to the Earth. Using the technology they've created and improved through No Man's Sky for galaxies and so on, they're just doing one planet, really intensifying that procedurally generated world. And this is a weird fantasy version with magical creatures and so on, a classic survival crafting RPG. Not a sudden project though, in development for the last 5 years. Despite the lack of an official release date, there's a strong sense that it's not that far away. They've made it clear that this time they've not done those of PR and marketing, they're just going to release the game. So it's a very promising concept that I now actually trust them to deliver, so I'm looking forward to that one. But what about another survival game worth your attention like that? This is Enshrouded, and it recently won me over with a trailer that highlighted the true potential of the game. Sure, it's a classic survival game at its core, but one from a much smaller dev team compared to the Hello Games one. But some of the best of this genre we've ever seen have come from these tiny, passionate teams. Just look at Valheim. You start classically, generically, with very little, and you work up basic resources, gather and build, in this kind of light and dark themed fantasy world. The kind of unique take on this is the combat, really, letting you kind of do whatever you like. Whether you're fighting as a paladin, a mage, an assassin, a ranger, it's all set in a very destructive environment. You could build a giant base on land, you could mine under the very cores of the world. The idea is that they're going to let you build however and wherever you want, rather than say the limited, usually constricted rules of building in a survival game, but also dismantling through combat and action, which looks very fun and silly. It'll feature big boss fights or piles of enemy, stealth or mass destruction, and sure, you can play solo, but apparently you're going to be able to play with big groups, up to 16 players at once, in this massive world filled with a variety of biomes, overground and under. And this one's coming soon, so we're interested to check it out. It's going into early access on the 24th of January via Steam and coming to consoles later on. And I don't know, watching it, I just have a good feeling about it. We've been itching for a good indie survival game since Valheim, and this might be that. But now we're down to the last two I want to talk about, so it's time to talk Hades 2, the sequel to that original powerhouse that was Hades, one of the best roguelikes I've ever played. Musically, visually, mechanically, it was top tier, but it also had this awesome story to unravel by beating the game multiple times, perfect for a roguelike. We were wondering when they would do something new, and it looks like they finally are with this sequel that's going into early access soon, early 2024. Supergiant, the dev team, have apparently never made a direct sequel either, so this is their first time doing this. And considering the story of the original Hades game, Zagreus' time is up as the main playable character. Now the torch has been passed to his sister, who is very mysterious, and we're interested to see, what's going on with this character. It's speculated that the game will actually mirror the original, in which you're going to go down deeper and deeper compared to climbing out to the surface world like a brother. But why are they doing early access? Well, the original Hades actually did the same thing, and Hades 2 is launching with the same amount of content that Hades 1 did in its early access. That process did result in a very polished, pretty much a diamond of a game, so I trust them to do this format well again. When it launches eventually, we'll expect a complete game, but to begin with, it's going to be a treat of a roguelike, based on that original foundation, but with lots of new stuff, new locations, new upgrade systems, and she's going to have her own weapons compared to Zag. On top of course, the super RNG powers you get via the power of Olympus. But I feel like everyone should know about Hades at this point, and if you're interested and somehow haven't played the original, I very much recommend it. Finally, this brings me to the last of the 10 games I'm looking forward to in 2024, and that's of course Dragon's Dogma II, which is finally launching, and soon on March 22nd. The first game dropped a literal decade ago, and a sequel has been asked for ever since. We've been covering this game and the details throughout its entire time that we've known about it. We're very much looking forward to making videos and playing it. So I feel a bit silly trying to describe this one since we've talked about it a lot. I'm going to be short. We recently had this awesome 13-minute gameplay showcase to show you how far the game's come. Visually, it's looking incredible, because apparently it was developed on the RE engine, which is the same engine that, say, Street Fighter 6 is based on, which is interesting. With that, it's a heavily updated, yet classic Dogma action combat that rewards a mix of physical and magical fighting, all while managing your pawns mid-fight, that team you bring on the adventure. You command them because you are an Arisen. These pawns have lots of new quality of life improvements apparently, like they'll help you climb things faster by boosting you. We're still going to be dealing with huge monsters and wide-reaching environments though, with tons of choice between the weapons, the types of characters you use, the choices within the story. It looks to be a big leap forward for the combat though. It was originally very good, right? But now it just looks a lot faster. Maybe you're playing a super fast and flashy class, or maybe a slower charged hitter, maybe you're a caster. We saw this really cool duo casting moment in the recent gameplay. They were also introducing a new vocation, the Trickster, which is a sort of illusion master that can trick enemies into fighting one another while also being a good support for your pawn setup, healing and buffing and powering them. The game and its story is a very cool concept though, a parallel world to the one that we played originally. We're going to choose sides between two main factions while dealing with a new main threat that is a false Arisen that somehow got similar powers. So it's a cool way for them to retell that familiar story, but with some big twists and changes. I just like that idea. If you'd like to learn more though, we have been covering the game in detail. We've talked about all the new information in various dedicated videos, so go check them out. But we're definitely looking forward to covering this in its full at the release. But that brings me to the end of the video. 10 games we're very interested in that will hopefully all be playable in some form or another next year. I hope this video built up some hype or showed you something cool you weren't aware of. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.